Arizona, land of crimson canyons, scorching sun, and secrets buried beneath ancient sands. Beyond the beauty of the Grand Canyon lies a world of mystery. Haunted ghost towns, cursed mines, petroglyphs that defy explanation, and places where reality seems to bend. In this video, we're diving deep into the strangest, most chilling, and most mind-bending places in the Grand Canyon state. From the eerie lights of the Superstition Mountains to the enigmatic spiral rocks of Sedona, these are Arizona's most mysterious places. The Superstition Mountains. Imagine jagged peaks cutting into the desert sky, the wind whispering across barren rocks, and a legend so powerful it's lured treasure hunters, adventurers, and thrill seekers to their doom for over a century. Welcome to the Superstition Mountains, one of Arizona's most mysterious and dangerous places. Located just east of Phoenix, this rugged mountain range stretches across the harsh Sonoran Desert. From a distance, the superstitions look beautiful, almost peaceful, but step a little closer, and you'll start to feel it. That eerie tension in the air. Locals will tell you, the mountains don't like to be disturbed. But what makes them so infamous? It all starts with a legend. The legend of the Lost Dutchman's gold mine. According to the story, a German immigrant named Jacob Lultz, known as the Dutchman, stumbled upon a rich gold vein in the Superstition Mountains during the 1800s. He kept the location a secret until his deathbed in 1891, when he supposedly revealed its whereabouts to a Phoenix woman who had cared for him. But here's the catch. No one has ever found the mine. That hasn't stopped people from looking. Over the decades, hundreds of would-be fortune hunters have ventured into the mountains in search of the treasure. Some return empty-handed, others don't return at all. It's estimated that dozens of people have gone missing or died trying to find the Lost Dutchman's gold. Strange accidents, sudden disappearances, mysterious deaths. The mountain seems to swallow people whole. But this mystery goes beyond missing persons. There are countless stories of paranormal activity and unexplained phenomena in the area. People report seeing strange lights floating over the peaks at night. Hikers have heard whispers on the wind, even when no one else is around. Some claim to feel disoriented, like the mountain is twisting time and space. And then there's the legend of the Apache Thunder God, said to protect the mountains from intruders. Native Apache tribes consider the superstitions sacred, warning that trespassers risk facing supernatural forces far beyond their understanding. Even experienced outdoorsmen say they felt watched, followed, or overwhelmed with dread while deep in the canyons. One of the most chilling real-life cases is that of Adolph Ruth, a treasure hunter from California. In 1931, Ruth ventured into the superstitions with a map he believed would lead to the gold. He never came back. Months later, his skull was found, riddled with bullet holes. Authorities claimed it was an accident, but many believe he was murdered to keep the secret of the mine buried forever. More recently, in 2010, a Utah man named Jesse Capon disappeared while searching for the treasure. He'd studied the Lost Dutchman legend for years. His remains were found 3 years later in a remote area of the mountain, far from the trail. These aren't just spooky stories. These are real people, vanishing in one of Arizona's most unforgiving terrains. Skeptics say it's just the landscape. The superstitions are rough, dry, and brutal. Temperatures soar, and water is scarce. If you're not prepared, it's easy to get lost, injured, or worse. But even experts can't deny, the mountain has an unusual number of strange incidents for one region. Whether it's the gold, the ghost stories, or something deeper, something older, something alive in those rocks, the Superstition Mountains continue to draw people in, and they don't always let them go. So what do you think? Is there really a hidden fortune buried somewhere in those jagged cliffs? Or is the true treasure the mystery itself? Maybe the mountains are just mountains. Or maybe They remember every step taken on their paths. If you ever find yourself in Arizona and you catch a glimpse of those distant peaks, ask yourself, would you dare to enter? Because the Superstition Mountains are waiting. Skinwalker Ranch, Arizona side. You're driving through the remote deserts of northeastern Arizona. The moon is high, the land is silent, too silent. Then you see it, a figure on the road. Not quite human, not quite animal. And before you can react, it's gone. Skinwalker territory, where ancient legends blow the line between reality and nightmare. The word skinwalker comes from the Navajo term Lushi, which roughly translates to, with it, he goes on all fours. In Navajo folklore, a skinwalker is a witch or shaman who has chosen to embrace dark magic, gaining the terrifying ability to transform into animals or even other humans. They don't wear costumes, they wear skins, literally. The belief is that they take the hide of a creature, a wolf, coyote, or owl, and become it. Fast, deadly, and always watching. These aren't ghosts, they're alive. And according to those who live near the Four Corners region, where Arizona meets Utah, New Mexico, and Colorado, they're real. While Skinwalker Ranch in Utah gets most of the headlines, many Navajo and Hopi communities in Arizona have told stories of skinwalkers for generations. Here, the belief isn't some creepy campfire tale. It's woven into the culture, treated with caution, respect, and fear. In fact, talking about them openly is often considered dangerous. It's said that even saying the word skinwalker can attract their attention. Arizona's remote lands, especially near Window Rock, Chinle, and the Navajo Nation, are filled with stories of people hearing strange voices calling their names in the dark, of glowing eyes peering through windows, and of figures that move like no creature should. One man near Flagstaff recalled driving home late one night when a deer ran beside his truck on two legs. It kept up with him at 60 miles per hour, then vanished into the brush. When he told his grandmother, she simply said, "That wasn't a deer." Others talk about hearing knocks on their walls at night, even when they live miles from the nearest neighbor. Dogs refuse to go outside, livestock turn up mutilated, and sometimes people see a person, but something is off. The eyes, the gait, the energy. Like a mask is being worn over something else entirely. Could it be sleep paralysis, an overactive imagination? Maybe, but when hundreds of people, often isolated from one another, describe the exact same thing, it makes you wonder. Mainstream science dismisses the skinwalker legend as folklore. No physical proof, no verified sightings, just stories. But that doesn't mean it's not real, at least not to the people who've lived with these tales for centuries. Some researchers suggest skinwalker sightings may be explained by hallucinations, sleep disorders, or natural animal behavior misidentified in the dark. The desert can play tricks on you, especially if you're alone, tired, or afraid. Still, skeptics can't explain away everything, like the mutilated animals found without blood, or the UFO sightings often reported alongside skinwalker encounters. That crossover between ancient magic and modern high strangeness is exactly what makes the phenomenon so unique and so terrifying. If you're thinking about taking a trip to Arizona to find a skinwalker, don't. Local Navajo elders strongly advise against seeking them out. These aren't creatures to chase or photograph. This isn't a tourist destination. Skinwalkers are a part of something deeply sacred and deeply feared. They're not just shapeshifters. They're people who have crossed a spiritual line that can't be uncrossed. In this part of Arizona, there are still places that the locals avoid after dark. Roads they won't drive, hills they won't climb, stories they won't tell strangers. And maybe that's for the best. The Zone of Silence, Arizona Extension. There's a place where radios stop working, compasses spin for no reason, and time seems to pause. It's quiet, too quiet. Welcome to the Zone of Silence, a bizarre stretch of desert where science, myth, and mystery collide. Most people know the zone from northern Mexico, but what many don't realize is that this strange, silent phenomenon doesn't stop at the border. It bleeds into southern Arizona, and what happens there is just as eerie. The Zona del Silencio, or Zone of Silence, is a desert region mostly located in northern Mexico, near the Mapimi Biosphere Reserve. It first gained international attention in the 1970s, when a U.S. missile veered off course and crashed right in the middle of this remote area, for no apparent reason. When scientists went to investigate, they noticed something odd. Radios didn't work, compass needles spun, GPS devices failed. It was like nature had turned off the signal. Since then, tales of strange lights, UFO sightings, and mysterious creatures have turned the zone into a hotspot of paranormal speculation. Now, here's the wild part. Some researchers and locals believe this dead zone extends into Arizona's Sonoran and Chihuahuan deserts, especially in southern Arizona near the border towns, and around parts of Yuma, Ajo, and even Organ Pipe Cactus National Monument. Travelers have reported the exact same phenomena: radio blackouts, sudden drops in signal, and a strange sensation that the desert itself is watching. And it's not just tech issues. People speak of hearing voices on the wind, seeing balls of light hovering above the desert floor, and even encountering bizarre animals that vanish into thin air. So, what is going on here? Scientists have offered a few explanations. The region is rich in magnetite and other minerals that could affect electromagnetic signals. Solar flares and atmospheric interference are also possible culprits. But that doesn't explain everything. Why do experienced hikers and pilots report disorientation in these areas? Why have compasses stopped working, even when electronic interference is minimal? And why are people seeing glowing humanoid figures, giant birds, or metallic objects in the sky, especially during magnetic storms? Even wildlife seems to avoid certain areas, as if they sense something humans can't. The theories get weirder the deeper you dig. Some say the zone is a natural vortex, a place where Earth's magnetic fields twist and turn, creating a rift in space-time. Others think it's the site of an ancient alien landing zone, or even a portal used by beings from other dimensions. In Arizona's side of the zone, locals have reported strange triangular craft hovering silently above the desert at night. These craft move with impossible speed, make no sound, and vanish without a trace. Even more unsettling, some visitors to the area have claimed they lost hours of time, a phenomenon known as missing time, commonly reported in alien abduction cases. Coincidence, or evidence of something bigger? For native tribes like the Tohono O'odham, the desert isn't just a place, it's a living spirit. Stories passed down for generations speak of sacred places to be avoided, areas where the land itself is different. The Zone of Silence, whether in Mexico or Arizona, might be one of those places, where ancient energy flows beneath the sand and the veil between worlds wears thin. But tread carefully. Aside from the supernatural, the environment itself is brutal. Extreme heat, venomous wildlife, and no cell service make it one of the most dangerous places to get lost. And yet, people keep coming. Scientists, paranormal investigators, curiosity seekers, drawn in by the mystery, searching for answers. So what is the Zone of Silence, really? A strange natural phenomenon? A playground for the unknown? Or a window into something our science just isn't ready to explain? Whatever the truth may be, one thing's certain. There's a part of southern Arizona where silence isn't peaceful, it's unnatural. And if you ever find yourself there, and your compass starts spinning, maybe it's time to turn back. before something finds you first. Jerome, the ghost town perched high on a mountainside in central Arizona. There's a town that refuses to die. Its streets echo with the past, its buildings lean with age, and its legends, they never stopped growing. Welcome to Jerome, once the wickedest town in the West, now one of the most haunted places in Arizona. Jerome wasn't always a ghost town. In fact, back in the late 1800s, it was booming, quite literally. Built on rich copper deposits, it became a mining powerhouse. At its peak, Jerome had over 15,000 residents, dozens of saloons, bordellos, gambling halls, and a reputation for being wild, rough, and dangerous. It was a town that lived fast and died young. When the mines finally closed in the 1950s, the population dropped to under 100 people. Homes were abandoned, businesses shuttered. But the town didn't just fade away quietly, because something, or someone, stayed behind. Walk through Jerome today, and you'll feel it. That weight in the air, that chill on your neck, even on a hot Arizona day. Locals and visitors alike report shadowy figures, phantom footsteps, and the overwhelming sensation of being watched. It's not just ghost stories whispered around a campfire. People have captured strange photos, unexplained voices on recorders, and seen things they still can't explain. One of the most haunted spots? The infamous Jerome Grande Hotel. Originally built in 1926 as the United Verde Hospital, this building has seen thousands of deaths over the years, from mining accidents to tuberculosis to mysterious suicides. Now, it's a hotel. But guests don't just come for the view. They come for the paranormal experience. People hear screams in the night, wheelchairs rolling down empty halls, and see apparitions of former patients wandering the corridors. Room 32 is said to be especially active, the site of a man's gruesome death, now the center of constant ghost sightings. Staff members have even quit on the spot after experiencing things they couldn't explain. And it's not just the hotel. The entire town of Jerome is filled with paranormal activity. At the Connor Hotel, guests have reported TVs turning on by themselves, items moving, and the ghost of a woman in red who appears and disappears without a sound. The Mile High Inn, once a bordello, is said to be haunted by the women who worked there. Laughter, perfume scents, and cold touches in the night are common. Even the old mining tunnels below the town are said to be cursed, with miners still lingering underground, trapped by tragedy. Jerome doesn't just tell ghost stories, it lives in them. Despite all this, Jerome isn't just a shell of the past. Today, it's home to a small, thriving artist community, quirky shops, and one of the best views in the state. But the supernatural remains its biggest draw. Ghost tours run every night. Paranormal investigators set up equipment in old buildings, and thrill seekers walk the same crooked streets, hoping to catch a glimpse of the other side. But locals will tell you, the ghosts aren't just tourist attractions, they're part of the town. Some believe Jerome sits on powerful spiritual land. Others say it's the violent history, murder, disease, and despair that left a permanent scar. Whatever the cause, the result is the same. Jerome is alive, but not everyone walking its streets is. So if you ever visit Jerome, look beyond the charming cafes and old-time storefronts. Pay attention to the cold breeze that doesn't match the weather. Listen for footsteps on an empty staircase. Watch the shadows, just in case they move. Because this isn't just a ghost town. It's a town full of ghosts, and they're not ready to leave. The Bradshaw Ranch. Tucked away in the glowing red rocks of Sedona lies a piece of land that defies explanation. A place where lights float in the sky, time behaves strangely, and reality itself seems thin. This isn't your average ranch. This is Bradshaw Ranch. Arizona's very own UFO hotbed and a magnet for the bizarre. The Bradshaw Ranch sits just outside of Sedona, Arizona, already known for its energy vortexes, crystal shops, and otherworldly landscapes. But even by Sedona standards, the ranch is something else entirely. It started as a simple cattle ranch, owned by a Hollywood stuntman named Bob Bradshaw. He moved there in the 1960s and used the land for filming westerns. Beautiful sunsets, rugged terrain, and complete seclusion. It was a filmmaker's dream. But over time, Bob and his family started noticing things. Lights in the sky, strange figures on the horizon, equipment malfunctioning, time missing. And that's when the weirdness really began. Visitors to Bradshaw Ranch have reported everything from classic UFO sightings to interdimensional beings. We're talking glowing orbs, floating triangles, shadow people, and entities that don't quite fit any category. And it's not just stories. Some people brought cameras and scientific equipment, hoping to document what was happening. But often, the gear would fail. Batteries drained in seconds, footage corrupted, electronics rendered useless. One visitor claimed to watch a ball of light hover just feet away from them, then zip into the sky at impossible speed, leaving no sound, no trace. Others tell of seeing creatures appear and disappear, as if stepping in and out of another reality. In the late 1990s, something strange happened. The ranch was suddenly purchased by the US government, specifically the Department of the Interior. The land was absorbed into the Coconino National Forest. Since then, it's been sealed off from public access, fenced in, and heavily monitored. To this day, people wonder, why would the government buy a dusty old movie set in the middle of nowhere? Some say it was to preserve the land. Others believe it was to cover up ongoing experiments or alien activity. After all, it's not the only place like this. People draw comparisons to Skinwalker Ranch in Utah, which has a similarly bizarre reputation. Coincidence? Maybe. But many believe the government knows more than it's telling us. Of course, no discussion of Bradshaw Ranch would be complete without talking about Sedona's infamous vortexes. These are places where Earth's energy is said to swirl, twist, and open portals. Spiritualists, healers, and mystics from all over the world come to Sedona for these spots, believing they offer heightened perception, healing, or even access to other dimensions. Bradshaw Ranch is said to sit right on top of one of the strongest vortexes. Some believe this is why so much high strangeness happens there. The theory? These vortexes weaken the barrier between dimensions, making it easier for things, or beings, to pass through. UFOs, ghosts, time slips, cryptids, it's all connected, they say. And Bradshaw Ranch is a gateway. Today, you can't legally enter the ranch. The area is off limits, with signs warning visitors to stay away. But that hasn't stopped some from hiking to the perimeter, hoping to catch a glimpse of the unexplained. And the stories continue. Night hikers report unmarked helicopters circling the skies. Campers describe strange lights dancing over the trees, and some claim to have lost time. One moment it's sunset, the next it's deep night, with no memory of the hours in between. Despite the silence from officials, the legends only grow stronger. Bradshaw Ranch is no longer just a place. It's a mystery, a legend, a modern portal into the unknown. So, what's really happening at Bradshaw Ranch? Is it a secret military base, a natural energy anomaly, or a cosmic crossroads where dimensions collide? Maybe it's all three. Or maybe something else entirely. One thing's certain, the desert has its secrets, and Bradshaw Ranch, it's keeping them well hidden. But out there, beyond the no trespassing signs, something might still be watching the skies and waiting. Sedona Vortex sites. There's a place in Arizona where the rocks seem to glow. The air feels charged, and the landscape buzzes with a kind of invisible energy. It's not just beautiful, it's powerful. Sedona, the spiritual heart of the desert, and home to some of the world's most famous energy vortexes. But what is a vortex really? Why do people travel across the globe just to stand in one? And are they just feeling the view, or something much deeper? Let's break it down. An energy vortex is believed to be a place where the Earth's energy is especially concentrated and spirals in a specific direction, either upward or inward. These swirling centers are said to affect our mind, body, and spirit in powerful ways. Think of them as spiritual hotspots, places where meditation is deeper, emotions are heightened, and healing feels more natural. Sedona has long been considered one of the most potent vortex locations on Earth, and once you're there, it's easy to see why. The red rocks, the expansive sky, the silence that somehow feels alive. Long before tourists and spiritual seekers arrived, the Native American tribes in the area, including the Yavapai and Apache, considered Sedona a sacred place. They spoke of the land as being alive, a place for ceremony, vision quests, and connecting with the unseen. Today, Sedona draws millions of visitors every year, not just for the scenery, but for the transformation people say they experience. Some describe a rush of peace, others a wave of emotion. Still others speak of profound clarity, like a mental fog has lifted. Coincidence? Or are these vortexes truly influencing something inside us? While Sedona is full of energy, there are 4 main vortex sites that are considered the strongest and most active. 1. Bell Rock, shaped like a giant bell rising from the earth. Bell Rock is believed to emit a strong, uplifting energy. It's a favorite for those seeking clarity, balance, and a boost in physical or spiritual strength. People report feeling energized, grounded, and even buzzing as if their internal compass has been reset. 2. Cathedral Rock. This site is said to have a feminine, inward-pulling energy, perfect for meditation, emotional healing, and reflection. Many couples choose this site for ceremonies, claiming it deepens emotional bonds and spiritual connection. 3. Airport Mesa. Don't let the name fool you. This is one of the most intense vortex spots. The energy here is thought to be masculine and outward, energizing your goals and intentions. But be warned, it can also stir things up emotionally, making it a place of challenge as well as clarity. 4. Boynton Canyon. This is the sweet spot. It's said to have a balance of masculine and feminine energy, making it ideal for those seeking harmony in their lives. Visitors talk about feeling peaceful, centered, and connected to something greater than themselves. Now, what actually happens at these vortexes? Some people report tingling in their hands, a lightheaded feeling, or even a sense that time is slowed down. Others experience emotional release, laughing, crying, or simply feeling overwhelmed with joy or peace. Skeptics say it's all in the mind, that the beauty of the landscape, the stillness of the desert, and the power of suggestion create a perfect storm for these feelings. But for those who felt it, it's something more, something real. So, is there science behind the vortex effect? Well, sort of. Some researchers believe that the red rock formations, heavy in iron and quartz, might affect the body's electromagnetic field. Others point to geomagnetic anomalies in the area. Still, there's no hard scientific proof that vortexes exist. But maybe that's the point. Not everything powerful can be measured, whether it's Earth's energy, spiritual energy, or just the power of intention. Sedona's vortexes continue to draw people in, year after year. So, if you ever find yourself in Sedona, don't just take a photo and move on. Stop, breathe, listen to the wind. Feel the earth beneath your feet. Whether you're searching for healing, inspiration, or just a quiet moment of peace, the vortexes are waiting. And maybe, just maybe, they'll change you. Casa Grande, domes in the Arizona desert, just off Interstate 8 near the town of Casa Grande. Something strange sits baking under the sun. Giant, decaying concrete structures, like something out of a sci-fi film, rising from the dust with no clear purpose. The explanation. They've been called alien pods, portal gates, even government experiments gone wrong. But officially, they're just unfinished buildings. Welcome to the Casa Grande Domes, one of Arizona's strangest and most mysterious places. Let's rewind to the 1980s. A company called Intercon Technology wanted to build a new facility in the desert. The plan was to manufacture circuit boards, and they chose a method of construction that was cheap, fast, and futuristic: inflated dome molds. Essentially, workers would blow up huge balloon-like forms, cover them in concrete and rebar, and let the shells harden in the sun. The result? Smooth, spaceship-looking buildings that looked like they were dropped from orbit. But before the project was finished, the money ran out. The company shut down, and the buildings were abandoned, left to rot in the desert. And that's when the rumors started. Over the years, the Casa Grande Domes gained a reputation, not as a failed business site, but as something much weirder. Some visitors claimed they could feel strange vibrations while standing inside. Others heard whispers echoing off the curved walls, even when they were completely alone. There were stories of rituals, UFO sightings, and even satanic activity. The unusual shape of the domes only fueled the legends. One structure looked like a giant caterpillar, another resembled a spaceship crash site, and at night, they looked otherworldly. Locals began to say the domes were cursed, a magnet for dark energy. As interest grew, so did the number of strange reports. Ghost hunters visited and claimed to hear disembodied voices, experience cold spots, and see shadowy figures darting through the halls. Some paranormal teams said the domes acted like giant amplifiers, magnifying supernatural energy the way a speaker amplifies sound. Visitors talked about time feeling off, standing inside one dome for what felt like minutes, only to realize an hour had passed. Electronics would glitch out, cameras would fail, and some people claimed they left with splitting headaches or waves of nausea. Was it just psychological? Or was the land trying to tell them something? By the 2000s, the domes had become a hotspot for urban explorers, taggers, and curious wanderers. But with that came problems. Vandalism became rampant. Fires were set. Illegal activity skyrocketed. What was once a mysterious attraction slowly became dangerous. Eventually, the local authorities had enough. In 2016, Pinal County deemed the domes unsafe. The concrete was cracking, sections were collapsing, and in 2023, demolition finally began. But even in ruins, the stories haven't stopped. Some say the land still holds energy, that even after the structures fall, the presence remains. Because maybe it was never about the buildings. Maybe it was always about what the buildings awakened. It's easy to brush the domes off as failed architecture. And technically, that's exactly what they were, a business venture gone sideways. But it's what they became, a canvas for the imagination that turned them into something legendary. They stood for nearly 4 decades, crumbling in the sun, yet refusing to disappear from the public mind. Part dystopian ruin, part supernatural magnet, part alien monument. The Casa Grande Domes were Arizona's playground of the unexplained. Whether it was the eerie acoustics, the strange design, or the desert's natural pull, the domes felt like a gateway to somewhere else. Somewhere not entirely human. So if you ever find yourself near Casa Grande, stop for a moment. Look out across the flat, dusty horizon. Imagine the dome still standing, casting long shadows in the twilight. Remember the stories, the whispers, the lights, the things that moved when no one was there. Because even though the domes may fall, their mystery still stands. Tuzigoot National Monument. High above the Arizona desert, perched on a rugged hilltop, lie the weathered stone remains of an ancient village. The walls are low, the doorways narrow, and the silence heavy. This isn't just an archaeological site, it's a place full of questions. Welcome to Tuzigoot National Monument, a forgotten stronghold of a lost civilization and one of Arizona's most quietly haunting mysteries. Tuzigoot sits just outside the town of Clarkdale, about 90 miles north of Phoenix. At first glance, it looks like a pile of old ruins. But take a closer look, and you'll realize this was once a thriving hilltop village, home to the Sinagua people nearly 1,000 years ago. The Sinagua, whose name literally means without water in Spanish, lived in a land with few rivers, harsh seasons, and limited rainfall. And yet, they built something extraordinary. Tuzigoot wasn't just a cluster of homes. It was an engineered settlement, carefully crafted with stone, mud, and wood. Some of the rooms were 2 stories tall. The site included about 110 rooms stacked along the ridge, with no central plaza and no streets. People lived on rooftops, climbed ladders, and watched the Verde Valley from above. But then, around the 1400s, they vanished. The Sinagua people occupied Tuzigoot for roughly 300 years. They farmed the valley, traded with neighboring cultures, and left behind pottery, jewelry, and tools. And then, like so many ancient peoples in the Southwest, they abandoned their home. Why? Nobody knows for sure. Some archaeologists point to drought or resource depletion. Others think there may have been conflict or religious change. The truth is, there are no written records, and the oral histories are sparse. What's left behind is stone, dust, and an unsettling sense of absence. A whole community that simply disappeared. Segment 3. The ghostly energy of Tuzigoot. Tuzigoot doesn't just look ancient, it feels ancient. Visitors often talk about the strange energy at the site. Some say the silence is almost too quiet. Others describe feeling watched, even when they're completely alone on the trail. There are reports of cold spots, even on 100-degree days. Cameras that suddenly glitch, feelings of heaviness or dizziness near certain rooms. And yes, even ghost sightings. One ranger once said, "It's like the place remembers." And maybe it does. Is it residual energy, ancient spirits, or just our minds reacting to an environment that once held life, death, and ceremony? When archaeologists excavated Tuzigoot in the 1930s, they uncovered thousands of objects: bowls, tools, beads, even human remains. Some of the artifacts, like intricate shell jewelry, came from as far away as the Pacific coast or Mexico, suggesting the Sinagua were part of a vast trade network. But what really intrigues researchers are the symbolic patterns etched into stone and pottery. Spirals, waves, zigzags. Are they decorative, or do they represent cosmic beliefs, calendars, or even maps? We may never fully understand what they meant, but we know they meant something. Tuzigoot wasn't just a place to live, it was a place of purpose. Today, Tuzigoot is protected by the National Park Service and open to the public. Visitors can walk through reconstructed rooms, climb to the rooftop viewpoint, and gaze out across the Verde Valley, just like the Sinagua once did. But even as you explore it in the daylight, something about it feels untouched, timeless, mysterious. The landscape hasn't changed much in 1,000 years, and neither has the feeling that this was once a place of power, where people lived close to the earth, and maybe something beyond it. Tuzigoot doesn't shout, it whispers. It doesn't have flashing lights or dramatic stories of curses and disappearances. What it offers is something deeper, a connection to people we'll never meet, and questions we may never answer. But maybe that's the beauty of it. Not all mysteries are loud. Some sit quietly on hilltops, waiting for someone to wonder. So the next time you find yourself in northern Arizona, look up to the ridge, Walk the path, feel the stone, and listen, because Tuzigoot is still speaking. Slaughterhouse Canyon, Luana's Canyon. In the dry, desolate canyons just outside of Kingman, Arizona, the wind howls a little differently. The rocks echo with something more than sound, something ancient and tormented. Locals call it Slaughterhouse Canyon, but its real name is Luana's Canyon, a place wrapped in a legend so tragic, so chilling, that many refuse to walk its trails after sunset. Because some say, if you listen closely, you can still hear the screams of a mother and her children. This is the story of love, starvation, and one of Arizona's most haunting ghost tales. The legend of Slaughterhouse Canyon dates back to the 1800s, in the days of rugged pioneers and remote homesteads. A young family lived deep in the canyon, a mother, father, and several children. Life was hard, isolated. The father would leave for weeks at a time, riding into the mountains to hunt for food and supplies. The mother, Luana, stayed behind, keeping the children fed and the cabin warm with what little they had. But one trip, he didn't come back. Days turned into weeks. The food ran out. The children began to starve. Luana did everything she could. She rationed scraps. She prayed. But in that barren canyon, surrounded by nothing but dirt, rock, and desperation, hope faded fast. As hunger clawed at her children's bellies, Luana began to lose her grip on reality. Grief, fear, the endless silence. It was more than a mother's heart could take. And then, one night, driven by starvation and madness, the unthinkable happened. Luana killed her children. Some say she ended their suffering. Others believe she snapped, her mind twisted by the horror of watching them waste away. But no one knows exactly how it happened. All that's left is the chilling conclusion. After their deaths, Luana carried their tiny bodies down to the river, sobbing uncontrollably. And then, covered in blood and heartbreak, she simply faded from this world. Some say she died of starvation. Others claim she walked into the water and never came out. But one thing is certain, her spirit never left. Today, Luana's Canyon is remote, rocky, and eerily quiet. It's easy to see how isolation could unravel a fragile mind. The walls close in, the sun scorches, the silence is unnerving. And if you go there, especially near dusk, you might feel it too. Visitors have reported hearing faint sobs echoing through the canyon. Some swear they've heard the cry of a mother wailing for her children. Others report blood-curdling screams that come from nowhere, then vanish into the desert wind. There are claims of apparitions, a woman in a torn dress, drifting along the riverbed with her hands outstretched. Some have seen bloody footprints that start and then abruptly stop. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, Slaughterhouse Canyon has a heavy presence, the kind that presses on your chest, the kind that whispers behind your back. Is the story true? There's no documented proof of Luana's family or a recorded massacre. It could be a tale passed down to keep kids out of dangerous canyons, or a dramatic echo of many real-life tragedies that happened during Arizona's frontier days. But like many legends, it may be based on fragments of truth. Families that starved, people who vanished, and mothers who were pushed past the edge. And the name? Slaughterhouse Canyon may not be official on maps, but in the hearts and minds of locals, it's all too real. If you're ever tempted to visit Luana's Canyon, be careful. The terrain is rugged, and the nearest help is far away. But beyond the physical dangers, there's something else. People who go looking for Luana often return with stories they can't explain. Strange visions, emotional breakdowns, even dreams that linger for weeks. One hiker said, "I didn't see anything, but I felt like I was being watched, not by an animal, by something sad, something broken." Another claimed he heard a voice whisper in his ear. They were hungry. Slaughterhouse Canyon may be quiet now, its story fading into the dust. But the echoes of the past don't always rest. Sometimes they scream. So if you ever find yourself in the Arizona desert and you hear crying in the wind, don't answer. Just keep walking. Tombstone. The name alone conjures images of dusty streets, shootouts at high noon, and ghostly whispers in saloons. It's a place frozen in time, where the Old West still lingers, and every creaking floorboard tells a story soaked in gunpowder, gold, and blood. But Tombstone isn't just a historical site. It's one of the most haunted towns in America. Welcome to Tombstone, Arizona, the town too tough to die, and maybe too cursed to rest. Tombstone sprang up fast, too fast, some say. In 1877, a prospector named Ed Schieffelin found silver in the hills. Locals warned him the only thing he'd find out there was his own tombstone. So when he struck it rich, he named the mine the Tombstone. Within just a few years, the area exploded into a boomtown, drawing in miners, gunslingers, gamblers, and outlaws from across the country. Saloons, brothels, and opium dens lined the dusty streets. Money flowed like whiskey, but so did violence. Murders were common, duels were frequent, and death, in Tombstone, came cheap. Of course, you can't talk about Tombstone without talking about the gunfight at the OK Corral. In 1881, tensions exploded between the Earp brothers, Wyatt, Virgil, and Morgan, and a gang of cowboys led by the Clantons and the McClorys. What followed was 30 seconds of chaos, smoke, and bullets that left 3 men dead and made legends out of the rest. Tombstone has no shortage of paranormal activity. In fact, nearly every historic building in town has a ghost story attached to it. At the Birdcage Theater, once a bawdy saloon and brothel, over 26 deaths were recorded within its bullet-riddled walls. Visitors and ghost hunters have experienced everything from disembodied voices to full-bodied apparitions. Some claim to hear laughter, others hear sobbing, and a few have caught shadow figures darting across the stage long after the curtain has fallen. Then there's Boot Hill Cemetery, where outlaws, murderers, and victims of the OK Corral were buried in shallow graves. People have seen glowing orbs, ghostly cowboys, and even felt unseen hands grab at their ankles as they walked by. And let's not forget the Tombstone Courthouse. Now a museum, but once a place of trials and executions. Some say the spirits of the condemned still roam its halls, forever reliving their final moments. Despite fires, economic collapse, and the passage of time, Tombstone has refused to fade into history. The silver dried up, the mines shut down, but the legend, that only grew stronger. Locals will tell you Tombstone has its own energy, a strange, unshakable pull. It's part nostalgia, part history, and part something else, something restless. There's an eerie feeling when you walk through the town at night, the buildings leaning in like they're watching you, the breeze carrying whispers you can't quite make out. And every now and then, a door creaks open on its own. So what makes Tombstone so mysterious? It's not just the hauntings or the history. It's the blurred line between the two. In Tombstone, legends walk beside facts, spirits walk beside tourists, and the past walks beside the present. Is it all just ghost stories and Wild West folklore? Maybe. But maybe the town itself is alive in a different way. Not in body, but in memory, myth, and energy. A place where time never fully moved on. Tombstone isn't just an old mining town. It's a relic. A graveyard of ambition and violence. A monument to the spirit of the American frontier. And a reminder that some stories don't end when the guns go silent. So if you ever visit, walk slowly. Listen closely, because the people who built Tombstone are long gone, but their shadows, they're still there, watching.